Hi, it's Lynn again. So now we get everything all put together. We get absolute values. This time it's inequalities, and we need to deal with the and versus or. And I'm just going to sort of go over this. And is when you have a less than. So the way I remember that, just a little way to remember it would be less than. And if or is if it's greater than. So this would be more like great or. Greater, less than and greater. So let's take a look at these two examples that I have here. And I have a little arrow pointing to this negative 13. So for instance, if we have an absolute value that's going to be less than a negative number, can that happen? No, because an absolute value is automatically a positive number. So if you see this and you're on the ball and you notice this, you go, oh, that can't happen. So this answer would be no solution if there was a negative sign there. So now let's do the problem in the regular way. Now, if you do it in the regular way, it will work out. You will get two things going in the wrong direction that will also give you a negative answer. So let me show you that. So say we didn't notice that it was a negative 13. So just like the equalities, we're going to break this up into a positive and a negative. So the positive is going to be 2x minus 3 is less than negative 13. And since it's less than, we're going to say and then this is where it gets tricky. We're going to say 2x minus 3 is greater than, because you have to flip the sign, and it's going to be, and change this sign. So basically it's the opposite of 2x minus 3 is less than negative 13, but then when you change the signs and everything, you have to flip the sign. So when you flip, so the reminder here is you want to flip the sign and change this sign. And that's the trick with the absolute value inequalities. So let's see how this works out. So we go ahead and solve this. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So we have 2x is less than negative 10, and we're going to do that one later. So we're going to divide by 2 just to stay on the same page. So we have x is less than negative 5, and here we're going to add 3 to both sides. So we get 2x is greater than 16. So when we divide by 2, we get x is greater than 8. So if we have the key word here is that we have and in between. So if we're going to graph this, and so we have negative 5 down here, and we have a parenthesis and our arrow going this way. And then we have 8 up here with a parenthesis and going this way. Since it says and, it doesn't overlap. And so that would give us no solution. All right, so now we've erased all this and we've come back here, and now we have a positive 13. So let's see what works with this one. It's a less than, so it's going to be less than or an and in the middle. And since it's absolute value, we need to break it up into a positive and a negative equation, inequalities. So this positive one over here will be 2x minus 3 is less than 13. That's our positive one. The negative one will be 2x minus 3 is greater than negative 13. Flip and change that sign right there. Change the sign. All right, so we have 2, and the operative word in between here is and. So we're going to solve each of them separately. So we're going to add 3. So we get 2x is less than 16. Divide by 2. X is less than 8. And over here we're going to add 3. So we get 2x is greater than negative 10. Divide by 2. X is greater than negative 5. And the key word between here again is and. So then when we put these on a number line, we have the 8 and the negative 5 like we did before. But now it's greater than negative 5. So it's a parenthesis, and we're going to go this way. And then we have less than 8, and we go this way. So we see that we overlap, which makes the and work. So our final answer in interval notation would be negative 5, comma 8, which means to 8. And both of them are not or equal to, they're just less than and greater than. So that would be our final answer for this one. All right, so now let's go over here and look at this other example. And again, we're going to talk about the castle walls. So we have this negative 5 here that we need to worry about because that's an enemy of the castle. Can't let down the drawbridge into positive and negative until we get rid of that negative 5. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. So we have x over 2 minus 3, absolute value, is greater than 3. Now, just an aside, if this was greater than negative 3, an absolute value is always greater than a negative number. So our answer would be negative infinity to positive infinity. So that's just another little situation here. But now we have the castle all by itself, and this is when we decide, is this a greater or a less than? This is a greater, so our word in between here is going to be or. And then we split it up. So we're going to have x over 2 minus 3 is greater than 3, or x over 2 minus 3 flip is less than negative 3. And we solve each one of these separately. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So we have x over 2 is greater than, always keep that sign the same, 6. We multiply by 2 on both sides. X is greater than 12. Or we're going to add 3 to both sides here. X over 2 is less than 0. Multiply both sides by 2. X is less than 0, because 0 times anything is just 0. So we're going to put this on our number line. We have 0. X is less than 0, so it's going to be facing this way. Or x is greater than 12, so there's the 12, and it's facing this way. So this is your typical or response, where it's separated in the middle. And so when we write it in interval notation, we have this unbounded arrow down here, so it's going to be negative infinity, comma, 0, with a parenthesis with the negative infinity, and then the union, 12, comma, positive infinity. And that's our final answer here. Now be really careful. Another thing to be careful of, if this was a negative 2x there, when you divide by, if you had to divide by a negative 2 here, you would have had to remember to flip the sign. So always be conscious when you're multiplying and dividing to flip the signs, even if it's down in these areas right here. So good luck with that one. Remember, with this negative one, you have to flip the sign and change the sign of what's on the other side. Don't split everything up until it's safe. Don't let those drawbridge down until there's no enemies around. I know it's silly, but it's a way to remember it. So I hope that helped. See you later.